Wednesday morning. I've already been cutting. Some logs already been coming out. John's on the skidder today. He's been on vacation. He's back to help us just for today and tomorrow. Just for this week anyway. Just to try to speed things up here, because we kind of put a deadline on the walnut for ourselves for Friday, and we needed a little extra manpower to hit that deadline. Usually when we set out to do something, we try pretty hard to follow through with it. Anyway, now at the skidder's here, you can see these trees are kind of running out here where I'm going to drive, which skid steer and skidder are both here, so I'm not as concerned about it now, because we'll push those tops, and actually these tops here, we'll just bring them right back in here, kind of out of the way. But we got that little tree there to cut. That's a pretty good size one here to cut as far as the walnut go right here. And then we got a slug of oak up through here, which we'll worry about that later in the week or first next week. But for now, we're worried about getting the walnut out. That's what we told our landowner we'd get out first. So anyway, this last tree I cut, it had kind of a bad spot in it here, which honestly kind of worries me about this. And I mentioned something about this tree yesterday about having an anthole in it. And there's a lot of telltale signs with not just walnut trees, but any trees. You may not 100% know the health or how it's going to cut, but when looking at timber, it can give you a good idea of what those trees are going to do. Now, I'm going to zoom in here. See that ant hole right there? It's got that scar running down it. Old lightning scar or something. Now, I personally think there is a good chance this tree is going to cut a little bad. Especially since this tree here cut bad. Another one over here cut a little bad. And I don't know why on this point they're cutting a little ornery. Of course, we did cut one really, really good tree, thin sapped, right here yesterday. If you guys follow the Facebook and Instagram, that tree come from right here. But these trees around it have not been cutting good. And I hope I'm wrong, I really do. But these are things I take in consideration when looking at timber. Look a little further up the tree. You can see some dead limbs coming out of it. Just like I said, it's not 100% because you never know on a lot of them, but goes one right there. Nice. Yeah. Anyway, I hope I'm wrong, but we'll start on this tree. We're going to follow it right back in here. That's where she's going to go. Kind of get some of the snow and debris around the bottom of it here swept off, because we cut these things pretty low. Somebody commented yesterday if we ever use wedges for placement. At times we do use wedges, especially depending on the species. The thing with the walnut, I know a lot of guys hinge cut trees. We do not hinge cut walnut. Do not hinge cut it at all. We do what we call bore cutting, or spur cutting, some people call it. I don't use a hinge on walnut for multiple reasons. One being fiber pull, two being I don't like to lose that much of the stump wood with a cut. The stump wood on these trees need to stay intact, flush, smooth, good, pretty cuts, because some of this walnuts, I mean, you're talking about trees that get up in the money. So, let's fire up the saw and see if we can get this thing on the ground. Well, she's down, and as I presumed, right there. Don't know how deep she runs, but, and I could, yeah, I don't have my ruler on me, but that's going to go pretty deep. It's a good color, good sap line, but like I said, there's telltale things on these trees that you just kind of know after a while. And it's see this old lightning scar up in here, ant dens. You just kind of know after a while. And I luckily for me, growing up, I probably had about the best teacher in Missouri for looking and grading and getting to know walnut timber. You know, my dad, he's a wizard when it comes to knowing what they're going to do, knowing how they're going to cut. I don't ever question what he says about them. But yeah, I just, you know, all those years growing up and even cutting timber, you know, growing up being in the timber with my dad, you just, you listen to that stuff and you pay attention, and whenever you go look at timber, you notice things like that. And some people, you know, especially that are not in the logging industry, they wouldn't think twice about seeing that kind of stuff. But like I said, you just kind of, you pick up on a lot of things over the years. Now, we hit on this limb right here, and that doesn't look like it hurt it too bad. Kind of popped it and busted it there a little bit on that limb, but we can still take that right on up here to the crotch, have a good piece of lumber, have a lumber log here in this piece. Then we've got a lot of top to, we'll just push that back in here after we get this guy cut, of course. But yeah, it's a shame, but it wasn't like it was a big surprise. And here's another piece up here, just trees that are past their prime. It's a big tree, but it's, like I said, it's past its prime. It should have been cut years ago. And I know their trees are beautiful, they're majestic, but they're like any crop, and they've got to be treated like a crop. I mean, it's just like corn and soybeans. You don't leave corn and soybeans out there in the field for years and years after you plant it. I mean, you got to harvest, and that's what you got to look at trees. I mean, obviously you're not going to harvest them every year or so often, but for a healthier timber stand and a better forest and the most return on your investment of your property, you know, periodic thinnings and harvests, they're pretty essential. Well, let's get this one worked up. The guys will be back over here in a bit. If they're not, I'll fire up the 299, but we'll get this one cleaned up, then we're going to fall this one right back here on top of it. That way we can just keep all that stuff centralized, push back this direction. Now the guys are right across the creek here, working in that thick grove of them, which we'll go look at those here in a bit. That's where all the bigger trees were, was over there. I'm just kind of running around cutting stragglers like what you see here. And it's not that these are bad trees by any means, because they're good trees. But while they're focusing on that over there, because a lot of those trees, you got to get one out before you cut the next one. Everything's in such close proximity. While they work over there doing that, I can run around over here cutting a bunch of these, you know, just what I call stragglers, or one here, one there, one over there, which we got another one right there in front of us. This guy is too small, we'll let him grow. Another one right there in front of us, we'll let him grow as well. But once we get these, we'll just work our way on around the field. That way when they're done with that over there, they can come right over here and start dragging, or we could even take the skid steer and pack a lot of these, because they're falling out here in this open field, and I don't mind grabbing them with the skid steer. But there's one, you can see it's kind of, zoom in, it's been washed out. We're going to get that one. It's a good tree. It's just some flood waters have taken it out of the bank there. You can see behind it, kind of up the creek from it there, that big cut bank. I would guess that's where it's came from, but we'll get a log cut out of it. No need in letting it go to waste. But yeah, they're making pretty good progress. There's still 5 or 6 in there to cut, I think. Maybe more than that, I don't know. That's a white walnut in front of us there. Cottonwood. We joke around with Mike about the white walnut, because we'll be going along and he has a hard time telling the difference in cottonwood and walnut, so we joke around with him about white walnut. So if you hear us talking about white walnut, don't think that there's some kind of mysterious species of wood growing out there. It's just a cottonwood tree, but it's always fun to joke with Mike about. I come over to gas up my saw. John's there. See the cable going through there. They're getting ready to pull this big tree. So I thought I'd stop and watch this go down real quick before I headed back to my side of the creek. Got a big top on it. Now they've cut several trees right up through there. Of course, kind of got a little brush pile. And before we're done, I'd like to go back here with a skidder and kind of push a lot of these tops up. All things considered, I don't think this really looks too bad. Well, we've cut all these trees out of here. Now, that big walnut, and that walnut behind it with the top busted out of it, it's going to go yet. Of course, this one right here, that's a good tree right there. It's going to go. So there's still some to cut out in there yet. Those big tops like that always worry me in this cold weather. Like I said, they hit just right. They can bust these trees all to pieces. Easy, John. Kenny's just putting a little notch in that, just enough to kind of manipulate the weight around. Even though this is a big tree, it's not a real high dollar tree. It's got a few issues on it to keep it out of the high grade veneer brackets, but it's still a monstrosity of a tree. Probably 25, 26 inches, which for walnut anymore, that's a pretty good sized chunk of wood. John's keeping the skidder idled up. That way when it's time to winch, that winch will pull hard and fast. About time for it to go. Starting to creak. She goes. Easy girl. Nice. Whoa. Nice shot. Hey guys, if you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for all of our latest videos.